We live in a more connected world than ever before. And so it's just logical that we have to use those connections and those networks to get good jobs and to be successful. But here's the thing. I actually hate the word networking. I know you're told that it's important to network to get good jobs, and in fact it is. But I actually think the term networking sets the wrong mindset for how to go about getting great jobs and to be successful in your career. I really prefer something that I call a relationship mindset. Having a relationship mindset is one of the most important things you can do to get a great job and to be successful in your career, but also to be really happy as a person professionally and in your entire life. A relationship mindset is distinct from networking in the fact that it's really a two-way street. A relationship mindset is, how can I help you as much as how I can hope you can help me?
People kind of think that networking is somehow is slimy or underhanded, or you're getting something for nothing or an unfair advantage.
Kind of weird showing up at a cocktail party or like some recruiting event and, be looking for something, and it feels weird asking people for things.
To me, networking connotes crass cocktail parties and trying to get business cards and trying to get leads. You're just trying to get something from someone else. Maybe that's okay for some people, but I don't think that's as sustainable a long-term career strategy. Here's a fact. 70% of jobs are gotten through relationships, through referrals, and through connections. So while it's essential to be able to have target lists and go out and apply for jobs, it's more important to have relationships that will lead you to be recommended for jobs that come up.
Here's my analogy. You're a college student and you go home and you get an email from someone from your high school. And the email is, the subject line says, great high school student interested in Colgate. And then in the body of that, it says, I found your name through the high school alumni directory. I'm thinking of applying to Colgate. I'd love to set up a short conversation with you at your convenience. I'd like to ask you about your experience and what it was like to apply to Colgate. And then think, if you're the recipient of that email, how are you going to respond? Most people will say, hey, I feel really great. I feel honored to be asked that. So that's one scenario. The second scenario is great net student seeking help is the subject line, and the body of the email says, I don't know you, but I see that you went to my high school and you're at Colgate. I've applied, can you get me in? So it's two different things. What networking really is that first scenario we just put out. That what you're asking is, I'd love to have a little bit of your time at your convenience, and I want to ask your advice and insight because I'm thinking of doing something similar.
What I've always tried to do, and this is probably my best advice on a topic I'm not very good on, is when you interact with people, try to find something you're genuinely curious about, number one. So might be their company, might be something in their background, might be something they're wearing. But go up to people, and when you're trying to quote unquote network, just find something you want to learn from them, a question you want to ask, something you're curious about. That's number one. And number two, it's okay to ask them for advice too. People love giving advice. So if you've got nothing else, just go up to them and say, hey, here's who I am, here's where I grew up, here's kind of my situation. If you were in my position, what would you do? And people will help you.
So let's not overcomplicate what it means to have a relationship mindset. In fact, there's no difference between a business relationship and a personal relationship. Personal relationships, friendships are two-way streets, and professional relationships are no different.
I've been in 7 different industries. I've taken on roles that were quote unquote high risk, but I viewed them as low risk because I was going to learn a ton from them. And in all of those roles, in all of the time in my career, it was about rolling up my sleeves, learning a ton of new things, and taking my network with me. So everywhere I went, I could reach back and talk to people that I had worked with before and ask their advice and counsel on, do you know anybody who knows something about this? If you had this problem, how would you solve it? I need to go bring in new talent. How do I think about that the right way?
So don't think that you have to have a business relationship in one side of your brain and your friendships and personal relationships in your others. Because in fact, When you're working in an organization, it's really important to have friendships and personal relationships. That is the way to get the jobs, but it's also the way when you're working to be successful because people want to do business with people who they feel comfortable with.
You don't accomplish anything unless you're working with others and often in a team. I'm always thinking about who are people who I might want on my team someday, who are people who are running businesses or leading businesses that we might want to partner with in some way, and just try to get to know them, often without a specific opportunity in mind, but just knowing that someday it might be exciting to work with those people.
Employers evaluate candidates along two dimensions: experience and how that lines up with what they need in the job. But more important is actually the judgment about fit. And fit is not particularly scientific. Hiring managers are making personal judgments, and that's often based on how comfortable they feel with you and how much they like you. So having a relationship capability to build rapport is essential to getting a job.